Malaysian 370, contact Ho Chi Minh 120.9. Good night.
Good night, Malaysian 370.
Breaking news tonight, a Malaysia Airlines flight with 239 people on board, including 4 Americans, has gone missing.
Scripture, the Bhagavad Gita, Vishnu is trying to persuade the prince that he should do his duty, and to impress him takes on his multi-armed form and says, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds."
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very special episode of the Hard Truths podcast with Salvatore Pais. I believe this is our 4th time talking to Sal, if my math is correct. Guys, I am super excited for this interview. We just have to wait a few minutes for Sal to get on because his other computer was not working. But I decided, you know what? Let's just get right to it. Let's start talking about what we're going to be talking about today. And right off the bat, we are going to be exposing technology that the world does not understand to be real at this point. If you've been following me, you know that that's not really a surprise for you. But Salvatore Pais, in my opinion, is the key to this technology. He's the key to it because he works for the U.S. Navy, and he has 5 patents. 5 patents, 3 of which were approved, that are all supported by the United States Navy. They include high room temperature, high temperature superconductivity, which we talked about on Friday. They also include a transmedium craft with inertial mass reduction. They include a magnetically confined fusion reactor that uses counter-rotating vortices to compress plasma and produce fusion. And so we're going to be talking with Salvatore Pais about these patents, about this science. And I want to be asking specifically today about the connection to nuclear weapons. Nuclear weapons. That's where this road has gone and led us to, is the idea that in the 60s, when we figured out the H-bomb, thermonuclear weapons, we solved fusion. We solved fusion. And Sal must have insights into this history of the technology. The reason why I say this, just to get you guys primed right now before we start talking to him here. And yes, feel free to please hit the likes, follow, subscribe, whatever buttons, share with your friends. End of the day, you know, if I was a black project engineer, like Sal presumably is, I would never be talking about this stuff. Just to be real with you guys, I would just be invisible. I would have no social media presence. I would not be disclosing this information because, it's more hassle than it's worth. But I'm not a black project engineer. I'm a social media influencer. And so we're going to get all this information out to you guys in whatever way we can. I want to point out this paper right here. This paper, you see the author on this paper? It says Edward Teller. He is the father of the hydrogen bomb. Edward Teller is the father of the hydrogen bomb, and this paper says space propulsion by fusion in a magnetic dipole. Space propulsion by fusion in a magnetic dipole. 1992 is when this paper was published. And if this sounds somewhat familiar to you, well, there's a reason for that. This is referencing, or this is the precursor, you could say, to field reversed configuration fusion, FRCs. Field reverse configuration fusion, that paper mentions using helium-3 as your fuel source. As we find out, what is helium-3 connected to? Aneutronic fusion. So Edward Teller, the father of the hydrogen bomb, wrote a paper in the early 90s about using aneutronic fusion for space propulsion. The paper doesn't specifically mention field reverse configuration, but it talks about high beta value closed magnetic field lines. So it actually is mentioning field reverse configuration without actually saying it. High beta value, that's exactly what Lockheed Martin and helium fusion have been talking about. So we have a direct connection to the father of the H-bomb, Edward Teller, Ulam-Teller device, and fusion. So we're going to be asking Sal about that as well. Now, in addition to that, we got some other things on here that I want to talk to him about. So I was going to pull these up in the middle of the interview, but I want to show 0-point energy has been proven. 0-point energy has been proven to be real. Right here, 0-point motion of atoms measured directly for the first time, September 5th, 2025. This is 2 days ago. 2 days ago. Now, this paper basically says that all of the atoms everywhere are actually interconnected. They're interconnected, and even if you take their temperature down to absolute zero, there's still movement. There's still movement. And what do we call the energy that's left over when we take our temperature down to absolute zero? We call it 0-point energy. And what it means is that space is not empty. There is potentially unlimited energy available to us in the fabric of space-time. And that's what this paper shows. Sabine Hassenfelder actually just did a video about it. Weirdly, she didn't connect it to 0-point energy. She said the 0-point motion is not the same as 0-point energy. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So anybody that doubts 0-point energy is real, there you go. You've got your paper. Now, this is important for the discussion with Salvatore Pais because reviewing his patents, reviewing his papers, they all confirm this idea that space-time is not an empty vacuum, that space-time itself is a medium. We can think of space-time as a flexible solid, superfluid solid. So everything is secretly connected, but it can wiggle, it can vibrate around. And that's what this paper shows. This paper shows that the atoms are actually interacting with one another all the time. Now, another thing I want to point out to you guys as well, which is going to be related to the discussion that we're about to have, is this paper. I don't know who in my replies yesterday posted this, but wow. This Cornell paper right here shows Sal's patent is real about room temperature superconductivity. This paper shows that we can actually induce superconductivity in a metal. Induce it, as Sal said, via vibration, via the lattice structure vibrating. So this paper actually confirms that what Sal is saying has real experimental evidence to support it. That we can change the properties of our semiconductor from being an insulator to being a conductor. And then one last thing I want to show here before we get into this is this video right here. Now, this video is about Ampere's law. And apparently so we talk about this science that has been suppressed, that has been kept hidden from us, that, it has been, I guess, hiding in plain sight. Here's a great example of it. Here's a great example. What Ampere did, I'm just going to show you, oops, just for a second. What Ampere did is that he said, if I take two charged wires and put them next to each other, there's a longitudinal force between them, a measurable, experimentally proven longitudinal force between the wires that either pulls them together or forces them to repel. And actually, he says it's the opposite of what we would expect from magnetism. It works in the opposite way that we would expect from magnetism in terms of like attracting and opposites repelling. Or sorry, opposite of that. So this Ampere's law has essentially been erased from the textbooks systematically over the decades, even though it was experimentally proven to be real. Now, this is important because what is a longitudinal force? A longitudinal force is a ripple through the ether. It's a ripple through the ether, through the 0 point energy, if you want to think of it like that. This confirms what we have been saying about what was left behind. What did we lose? We lost the ether. We lost this idea that there's an extra dimension of energy that we're sitting in all the time. And we can show that it's real from the Casimir effect, from the Ehrenhoff-Bohm effect, and we can see it from Ampere's law, from Ampere's experimentation. Shows it as well. There's a longitudinal force. They said, the idea that they said was, oh, we'll just throw this out because we're just going to assume that everything's going to interact instantaneously. We're going to assume everything will interact instantaneously, which means everything will be stuck in an equilibrium. But that's not how it really works. So this is it. This is what we missed. What we missed was things aren't able to just interact instantaneously. You can break the symmetry temporarily, and it won't instantaneously come back. And if that's the case, this changes everything about physics. And this is the precursor, this is the basis, the foundation for how warp drives, wormholes, all of this UFO technology, as we've been calling it for some reason, is possible. Okay. So Sal should be joining us in just a minute, guys. I didn't want to keep you guys in the waiting room without him, but he had to switch computers. If you were not listening previously, Sal will be here in a few minutes. He had to switch computers. He was on and his computer. He had no audio, no video. So he's switching computers and he'll be back here in a second. So I'm keeping you guys busy while we wait for him. Now, the other thing I'm going to show then, since we still have a couple more minutes, are Sal's papers. I'll just do a quick review of these two papers. Very quick, just a summary. The two main papers that we're going to discuss with Sal. Oh, here we go. Okay, never mind.
My brother, can you hear me?
Hold on, Sal. Yeah, there we go. Hey, how's it going? Welcome to the Hard Cruise Podcast.
It's my birthday, so apologies for the delay. Truly,
happy birthday is in the chat for Sal, guys.
I will never ever attempt to use new equipment on your podcast. Anyone else, I don't care, but yours is special.
Oh, it's looking good this time. We've had some issues in the past, but you're looking great right now.
Really? Oh,
yeah.
My goodness. Okay, because I'm using old equipment. Wow. All right. That's cool.
Okay, so you ready to do this?
Oh, 100%, my brother.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Do you have to do a disclaimer, or are we just going to get right into it?
My brother, it is my birthday, and I'm feeling kind of interesting. Okay. So in honor of this day, no disclaimer, but allow me to make a statement, if I may.
Please.
All right. Once upon a time, there lived a man, a great man, a great American patriot, and great man of the world. His name, John Fitzgerald Kennedy. He was a great man and greatly wronged. He believed very much in the American way of life. He believed that we as Americans must always choose to do the hard things, the very hard things. That's what makes us exceptional. That's what makes us above all the rest. In honor of that man, I would like to state, brother, it is hard. It is very hard to be good in a world filled with motherfuckers.
That it is. Well, let's just get right to it, sir. Okay. I'm just going to throw this out there. Do you work on nuclear weapons?
Oh, my goodness. I have never taken a course in nuclear engineering, nor have I worked on any design or any weapon that involves thermonuclear energy. I can say that the Pais effect, the plasma compression fusion device, and something I hope to discuss with you now, something that's on the tip of my brain. It's very important. It's called the plasma disruption fusion weapon. It's based on the plasma compression fusion device. All of these ideas, the super force as well, they come from a serendipitous fusion of imagination and information. As you well know, and you within the last 2 years have come up to speed incredibly in physics. So you well know what hard work and serendipitous fusion between information and imagination can create. It can give rise to some of the greatest innovative principles. And one thing we must touch upon, Nastia and Shiloh did me a great disservice by stating on one of your podcasts with them that my work is representative of boosters, that it's not my own, that is just something I put out there, created by others. Who knows what they had in mind? After almost 2.5 hours of something more than 2 hour podcast with them, I never got that impression from them that they were so accusatory of what I had to say. As a matter of fact, I thought I had a good relationship with them until your podcast with them. It left me speechless. Not only that, but what they had to say about Bob, fuck it. What can I say?
Well,
Interesting people.
Yeah, but do you understand why they think that?
No, I don't. I
Okay,
really
well,
don't,
let me
brother.
say it then,
Tell me.
because A, I don't really
Okay.
believe you. And here's the reason why I don't believe you, because
Okay.
A, I'm looking at orbs spinning around MH370, zapping it out of space-time, and it dates back to 2014. Your papers, your patents, only date back to about 2016, 2018. And when I started researching this, of course, I found you right away, reached out to you, and I have to say, you are probably the bravest engineer that I've ever come across in my time. Most
It was
people are
on your
terrified.
birthday, brother. Remember? I said right. It was your birthday. I remember. All right. Go ahead,
Here's
sir.
the thing, though,
Sorry
is
to
that I look at this and I'm seeing this technology, and I know that engineering and science is, yes, you have innovation, you have inspiration, but it's a process of building upon historical science, historical technology. And, I found a bunch of papers going back to like Hal Puthoff, Eric Davis. These are things that were going back to the 80s, like ground state of the hydrogen atom, talking about 0 point energy. So this is the reason why I think it's hard for people like even myself to believe that you just had a moment of inspiration where all 5 of these patents, room temperature superconductivity, inertial mass reduction, fusion, all of these concepts all together. It seems like you must have had the source of the inspiration. I don't know if it is the papers or something you saw or something that you're working on, but that's why I think from our perspective, it seems like there must be something there.
Brother, I cannot say anything to convince you otherwise, other than the Pais effect, the engineering of the superforce, the triarchy of sentience. I hope we discuss AI to bring
Sure.
this up. I think it's important. I think one day, as a matter of fact, it's an AGI that will prove the Pais effect correct. I just have this feeling. Artificial general intelligence, it's not truly around the corner. They have to use something causal inference to bring about, to induce the possibility of sentient machines. But let me go back to the subject in hand. It's and causal inference we must discuss. It is the brainchild of a man. Uh, I believe he's the Turing Award winner by the name of Judea Pearl. We have to discuss that. But anyway, that's down the road when we discuss AI. Don't forget, it's very important we also discuss the plasma disruption fusion weapon, because I believe that certain high prominent Chinese research team have hit on this. And it's not too much of a step. Remember equation 7, 8, and 9, especially equation 9? You in a recent podcast mentioned the idea of plasma vortex dynamics bringing about magnetic field energy amplification. That's equation 9. Just look in the plasma compression fusion device paper. You will see it there. It's curl of B, right? It's on the order of an amplification factor times the magnetic flux density, the B field. But anyway, the people on your podcast, your followers, the people that, as a matter of fact, I truly regard you as a brother, a blood brother,
Mhm.
just like I regard Dave Rossi. You and him are very close to me. I swear to you that I will never lie to you or him or to your audience because
Okay.
I have great respect for you. One day, posterity will prove me not a liar when I say that every one of these patent applications, every one of them rests on the Pais effect, were my brainchild. No, no lie in this. But
Well, yeah.
I understand why it's hard to believe. I
Oh yeah, definitely.
sometimes look back at, put it this way, I had numerous nights on the porcelain throne, let's call it, at 2 a.m. in the morning, reading physics paper, physical review papers. Some of them Puthoff, some of them Davis's. Anyway, you know, I regard these esteemed gatekeepers. I keep them in high regard, even though they did what they did to me. And we have to discuss this
Well, let's
for
just
the
get right
first
into it because
time
we're
on the
touching a lot of topics.
podcast.
I got a
All
lot of
right, go
questions
ahead.
to ask you here,
Go ahead.
so we can start with that if you want. I mean,
I would
so
like to start with that because I
yeah,
would like to
here's the
make it.
rumor. I've spoken to you several times, and I just want to clear everything up because what I've been saying is that you got gatekept by Hal Puthoff, Eric Davis, Jay Stratton, and that entire crew when you were trying to get your own. I think it's a research team. I don't know what you would call it or like funding to do your high energy electromagnetic field generator and your other patents. Can you clarify?
Brother, all right. And let me state for the record, I never signed an NDA on this, so they can pull me in and question me on why I'm saying this, but this is the goddamn truth. Nothing but the truth. To
Okay.
you and Dave Rossi and your following, always the truth.
Okay.
In the summer, it was about summer of 2018, right after I believe the patent application called high frequency gravitational wave generator had just been published by the USPTO. So just the patent application. The patent was to be approved later in 2019. But in the summer of 2018, circa summer of 2018, out of the blue comes a gentleman to visit Pax River, flanked by two Navy commanders. His name, John Stratton. He goes by Jay Stratton, but his name is John. Now, this gentleman said that on behalf of Dr. Puthoff, Harold Puthoff, he would like to understand more of why I wrote this patent application and what exactly are the principal applications of the high frequency gravitational wave generator. By the way, a paper that you posted, thank you very much for that, almost got 1 million views. So I think it's my most read paper ever. Thanks to you. By the way, thank you for everything you have done. You're the only true brother. You and Dave Rossi are the only ones who have believed in my work, who have believed in me. Every time you've been there for me. So God bless you. God bless Dave Rossi. God bless your followers and your audience. True Americans, true patriots, and true guardians of disclosure. Real fucking disclosure. Not this bullshit trickle control motherfucking disclosure that they're trying to fucking push down our throats and call it serendipitous discovery. Anyway, yeah, sorry
So
about
what
that.
happened? So
Sometimes.
they showed up and they wanted to
So
know
they
why you
showed
were
up.
doing it.
So he asked me a series of questions on the high frequency gravitational wave generator and so forth. I could tell the two Navy commanders were not exactly brought up on the subject matter at hand, but they looked very interested in what I had to say. And there's certain things that I'll rather not say that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Again, just because I did not put in the disclaimer doesn't mean I don't play by a cube. We're not here to educate and enlighten the enemy. And trust me on this. These guys are very close to something.
Sure. I
Very
believe it.
close. Okay,
So
go ahead.
they screwed you over, and let me ask you then, because we can leave it
Oh,
kind of vague.
wait. That's the beginning.
Oh, okay.
I started work about a year later at the Washington Navy Yard. I was working at the time. As a matter of fact, my plasma compression fusion device was accepted while I was while I was working at Navy SSP. strategic systems programs. You know what they deal with. Now, at the time, I was extremely fortunate that I will not say the admiral's name. Again, I work for the United States government. There's certain things I would rather not discuss. The admiral is an amazing man, applied physics degree, a true connoisseur of great science. What he had to say about the high frequency gravitational wave generator is very interesting. But anyway, that's what started it all. I was asked to go to the Russell Senate building and actually give 2 briefings to highly placed the technical staffing committee of the Senate Armed Services Committee, so SASC. And that was on 2 occasions, and that's why I met a gentleman by the name of Thomas Kirk McConnell. He goes by Kirk McConnell. He headed a committee of, there were 4 of them. It was Kirk McConnell, or Thomas Kirk McConnell, Jason Potter, Creighton Green, and a gentleman by the name of Robert Winkler. I've never met him.
Now, Kurt McConnell is the same one that's on the UAP Disclosure Fund. That Kurt McConnell.
Kirk McConnell, sir.
Okay, just checking. Go ahead.
Yeah, he knows me well. Now, very well. Now, he is the one that truly wanted to get me the lab and the team. He really pulled for it. I have never seen anyone beside you and Dave Rossi be so strong behind me as this gentleman. Kirk understood my physics. He understood what the Pais effect could bring, and he tried very hard. As a matter of fact, there was a committee of 4 with him leading, and the other 3 gentlemen I mentioned. Mm-hmm. One of them I have never met. Now, they went on I believe it was a summer in 2019, summer of 2019. Then they went for the entire day to Pax River to speak with Dr. James Sheehy. At the time, he was no longer CTO, but again, he still was SES, so Senior Executive
Let me just
Service.
pause real quick, because James Sheehy he was the CTO of what are
at the
Navy,
time,
right?
The 5 patent applications were actually briefed to the Invention Evaluation Board, and 3 of them had passed to be patents. So all 3 had become patents by the time they had gone on their, let's say, their trip for the whole day to talk to the Invention Evaluation Board, see what the Pais effect is all about. Because as you well remember, those great articles by Brett Tingley, I owe Brett Tingley a great debt of gratitude. He's a great man. By the way, he's the chief editor of space.com now. He's no small potatoes. He's actually I think he's quite prominent, and he'll rise quickly. He's a very smart man. He got away from Tyler. I won't mention the last name, no need. You know who I'm talking about. Now, it was Tyler that insisted, by the way, on them be called UFO. Again, at every point in time, they've tried to put down my work. For example, this latest individual that wrote the article in the London Times saying, this man wants to build UFO technology for America. That particular, I think you've posted it, correct? Because I sent it to you. Thank you very much for doing so. Again, deriding the Pais effect, deriding the superforce, calling all my work basically pseudoscience, and saying that I'm afraid that China will steal my ideas. That I'm not sure what exactly he was trying to do, like get me in trouble with the Chinese.
Well, so just
Anyway,
to go back to the main
ahead.
core here, do you think that the people that were gatekeeping it were doing it because they've already got it figured out and they don't want you to do it
My
as
brother,
well? Or why
let me
would
tell
someone
you
gatekeep
something.
this technology? Go ahead.
Let me continue the story. I'm sorry to go on so many tangents. I should focus. This is one of my worst characteristics. I sometimes don't have the ability to focus on a subject. I go on many tangents, sometimes never arrive at the point. I will try very hard to keep it straight this time. Now, even though everything is curved, as you well know from general relativity. Now, geodesics, right? Now, the idea being this: At around 6:30 on that evening, on the day that I have spoken to all members of the Invention Evaluation Board, including one of the greatest patent lawyers, in my opinion, that ever lived, Mr. Mark Lute of the Office of Patent Counsel at PAX, a remarkable man, wrote with me all 5 patent applications. As a matter of fact, the one on the craft using an inertial mass reduction device, well, I better not say that here, but he knows. Tremendous accolades. To be able to pass that through USPTO, especially with the primary principal patent examiner. We talk about a GS15 here, basically just writing back to our office appeal, just 2 words, see appeal, and allowing it is just something that's never been done, in my opinion, in USPTO history. But anyway, so that night, that afternoon at 6:30, Kirk gives me a call and says, most likely you've got your team and your lab. We have certain things to take care of. And I visited, I believe I went to the Russell Senate building again to give another briefing to him. I think it was Creighton Green at the time and 2 other gentlemen I cannot mention, very high up, but from different agencies. Now, so you can imagine my exhilaration, the dream of my life, right?
Yeah.
Supposedly, and this I only heard as a rumor. I will not say exactly who told me. There's no need for that. Through Jay Stratton, 2 individuals, 2 great gatekeepers whose names you very well know. No need to remind your followers, especially of them, intervened and said there was nothing there. Don't do it. No lab, no team. Now I ask you, if you you have seen some of the physics of the Pais effect and what it can lead to, I use very simple mathematics to create some quite complex physics. It is not hard to deduce, or rather come to the deductions that I've made. And yet, no team, no lab, on such what would be called disruptive, not only disruptive technologies, but technologies that would make any nation that possesses them invincible.
Mm-hmm.
No lab, no team. So I ask you now, what does that mean to you? You have great analytic capability. What does that mean to you?
That means they already had it. And I mean, I know they already had it because I'm literally watching 3 fusion balls circling around a plane, zapping it out of the sky in 2014. So the point for me is when I look at the MH370 videos, I realize, holy crap, there's a major cover up happening here. And it's not just something on the surface. Like, this requires coordination behind the scenes to ensure that nobody figures this technology out. And so then when I hear about this story, which you told me several months ago, I go, they must be gatekeeping that because they've already got it figured out and they don't want anybody else to figure it out. And it's technically a waste of resources for somebody to reinvent the wheel that they've already solved. Now, my question though is, those guys are like connected to Air Force, I think, but you're more connected on the Navy side. So is there some kind of Navy versus Air Force versus, I don't know, CIA, DIA? What's going on with that?
Something very strange happened in 2020. I've never heard of it. As a matter of fact, I believe it was Jay Anderson or Project Unity that put it on his he made it a exposed. The U.S. Air Force looked into the plasma compression fusion device. They actually made a SIBR. A SIBR, an SIBR.
Yeah. The SIBRs are the funding awards that they give to people. Yeah, go ahead.
Gave a small grant on the order of maybe like $45K to 2 gentlemen over the summer, I guess, to look into the mathematics, look into the possibilities of what I was saying. I have no idea what happened. I didn't see a report on it. Completely disappeared. There's no results of that SIBR whatsoever. I think Jay posted it, yeah. But anyway.
So what's your opinion? Do you agree?
Of course they have it. They must have it. Otherwise, tell me, would you, given what you've seen, and I'm pretty sure that if I went to the blackboard in front of you and you had, say, all the physics degree in the world, and I showed you simply, very simple, just using the Oliver Heaviside, they call the Heaviside-Gibb version of Maxwell's equations, coupled with a simple harmonic oscillator, and I was able to show you, mathematically prove, that magnitude of Poynting vector is huge. We talk about nonlinearities on the order of omega square, omega cube, depending again on whether you use accelerated or rapid acceleration transients, accelerated spin and or accelerated vibration. What would you have done? Would you have given me that lab and team and say, engineer the future?
No, I'd have gate kept the hell out of you. I'd have gate kept the hell out of you. I would have just done the same thing they do. And this actually kind of leads me to my next question is why? Why are they hiding this? Because I don't believe that people are just good or evil. I think that people are generally a mix of both. And I look at people like Hal Puthoff and Eric Davis, and I'm inspired by the science they've put out. But I also realize there's a dark side to all this too, the gatekeeping side of it. I'll tell you my opinion is that they think they're doing it for the right reasons, right? And I don't like to get too political, but I kind of look back at COVID, right?
Both of them are patriots.
Yeah, exactly.
Never ever doubt that.
Did I ever tell you that
Eric W. Davis used to be the Navy. Harold Puthoff, CIA. Both of them extremely patriotic. In the depths of their hearts, they believe they're doing the correct thing. And most likely they are.
Why? Because you think
However,
it's so dangerous?
The problem is that the enemy has caught up.
Interesting.
Let me tell you something it's based on the physics of the plasma compression fusion device. It is very possible by using the physics that I described in that paper, with a few modifications, important modifications, based on, let's call it a Z-pinch with a fusion twist. That's all I'll say. Do not ask me for more. Okay? It is possible to engineer a plasma disruption fusion weapon, which would make the tele-Ulam thermonuclear device inconsequential with respect to energy yield. The whole idea being spontaneous disruption of collective magnetic fields. There's great power that can be harnessed in magnetic fields, as you all know.
Yeah,
it seems that magnetism is the most important.
You mentioned this in your
phenomena. Go ahead, sir. Sorry.
You mentioned this in your room temperature superconductor patent about the Q factor, and you defined it as the amount of energy that can be stored versus the amount of energy lost, I believe.
Yes, sir.
And you said the Q factor could be between 4 or what is it?
It's 10 to the 4 to 10 to the 9, but
10 to the 9.
It can exceed 10 to the 9th. It can actually exceed 10 to the 9th.
If you use something like a YBCO superconductor, right? I think that's what
Remember
you mentioned.
YBCO, when you use it in practice, see, that's the beauty of physics. There's a lot of stuff that's possible in physics. And that's why I'll never understand why physicists make fun of engineers, because it's engineers that make the physics truly work. As a matter of fact, if you were to use YBCO, it proves highly brittle. You can't do much with that shit.
But
there are other things that you can use.
Okay, fair.
Yeah.
I think the benefit of YCBO was that it's like it's a ceramic, so you can shape it into whatever shape you potentially want. It's brittle, and that's a downside. But the point being there is that according to the physics that both you and I strongly believe and know to be real and true, you could make a plasma weapon that can amplify energy to a degree that it's hard to even comprehend, which makes the Teller Ulam look like a little toy, which should not be surprising to people, because even during Project Ripple, which was when the government was testing the fusion bombs, they were finding energy outputs that they could produce that were like 1 million times more powerful than the A-bombs were. So this is essentially saying the same thing, but kind of explaining more how it could be possible, what would be the actual mechanism, potentially using plasma. because plasma may be, it's the fourth state of matter. That may be one of the ways to pull it off. You've mentioned non-equilibrium plasmas many times. So let me just kind of ask,
spontaneous disruption of magnetic fields, ultra high B fields. You know what can be done with B fields. Remember, this is magnetic flux density that we're speaking of. Highly dynamic in nature. Magnetism, in my opinion, controls everything.
I agree. And I think did you watch any of my Professor Yu from NASA stuff? His Yuon theory is that everything's magnetism.
He's a very interesting man, most definitely. Yeah, I wonder how he fared at NASA. They these days they don't take well to mavericks.
Yeah, that's why I love him even more, though, honestly. So real quick, I don't want to get too sidetracked because I want to ask you, are you afraid of criminal penalties if you say the wrong thing?
Of course, we all are. All that hold security clearances. You have to understand, these days it is so easy to get rid of a person. You no longer have to assassinate them. This is a thing of the past. Nowadays, it's done economically. They take away your security clearance. You can no longer hold the job. You lose your house. You lose your family. You become homeless. This is America, my brother. This is America.
I want to tell you something. I think they did that to this guy named Justin Cow. He was good friends with Edward Lin, the guy who I've identified as leaking the videos. And not to dox him, but we dug him up. And we suspected that he might be the guy that he leaked the videos to or has some connection to it. And it turns out he's like working at Costco now. You're like, so you wonder, like, how could they destroy people? It's actually a lot easier than killing people nowadays. Discredit them. Never allow them to be platformed anywhere, take away their money, make sure that they can never get another job ever again. Like, I actually worry about these things. Like, I have a normal job when I do this. And my biggest fear of all of this is that if I were to lose that job, they've had everybody attack me. Now, when anyone Googles my name, they find Ashton Forbes is a fraud. All this crap that's just basically BS. But end of the day, there's nothing you can really do about it. They own all of the media.
Brother, as long as our survival depends on others, we are all slaves, whether we agree with being called that or not. It's insignificant. That's what we are, brothers. Slaves.
So, I have a few more kind of primer questions that are not physics related before we get into the physics stuff. One, I've been wondering about, why did you wait until 2022 to start making public appearances? I mean, your patents were out there approved in 2018, right?
It's a very good question.
Making headlines.
Actually, there was a very interesting pod that I saw that really got me started. I believe it was on Project Unity with Jay Anderson. He interviewed Brett Tingley. And Brett Tingley said that he tried to reach out and he never, that he'd like to know more. And at the time, I'll tell you the truth, I was still hoping for a lab and a team. It's unbelievable. You wouldn't believe the blood, sweat, and tears that are poured over the Pais effect and the Superforce. All this work, all this idea generation. And it's not easy generating new concepts, not at all. You one day will realize that posterity will prove me not a liar. Brother, posterity will prove me not a liar. I can't do more than that. There have been such great men that have, how should I say, suffered for their innovation.
Well,
Tesla is the greatest of them all.
So why did you wait then? Why were you not especially if you were being gatekept in 2018, why didn't you come out right away and start doing podcasts, start explaining it? Why the delay? Because people didn't think people didn't think you were a real person for a while until you started doing podcasts and interviews.
Yeah.
People were looking you up, you didn't exist. I was looking you up, you didn't exist.
A lot of things happening in my personal life, a lot of things happening in my professional life. There were a lot of things that I was contending with. But in the end, I just said, let's do it. Because people have to know the truth. Sooner or later, the truth must win. The truth has to win. Otherwise, all this is for naught. Everything we're doing, all this slaving away every fucking day, doing the same thing over and over again, trying to please some individuals that basically cannot be pleased. Is this all there is to life? That is the life of a slave. And I refuse to be a slave because fear is for fucking slaves. It's fear that keeps us slaves. And I've been so fucking afraid all the fucking time that I've said enough. Enough. Sooner or later, if something has to happen, it will happen. So let's go for broke.
Yeah. You know what? That's a beautiful thought. And I agree with you. And that's actually my exact view. Because I've wondered and struggled with these concepts of national security, the danger of this technology, whether or not it's just better that we don't have it. And that's the craziest part is I actually agree with the Hal Puthoffs and the Eric Davises, the CIA, the people that are hiding this technology. The dangers are, as you just pointed out, the plasma disruption weapon. They're real and it's very scary. But at the same time, we are slaves. We're literally living as slaves in this world where we could have Jetson level technology, but we've just decided that we're going to intentionally blind ourselves. And the worst part to me is that we don't even get to decide. We don't even get to decide is that other people have decided. The woke disclosure crew has decided that, well, it's just not, it's not the right time or we're not ready for it or whatever. And to me, that's the biggest thing that says, you know what? Screw it. We're just going to see what happens,
That's right. Trickle, trickle, immaculate constipation. Have you noticed in these so-called congressional hearings, same actors, almost the same actors. And even if the faces are not similar, what they're spewing is almost the same material.
So do you want to still get a team? If you could get one in a perfect world right now to do your thing? Or have you moved on from that?
It has to be within our United States government confines. That's the only way I would do it.
I hear that
one
China's
chance.
offering you $1 million. You gonna take it?
I am sorry. Are you kidding me? I will die an American patriot. I believe in this country. I believe in the greatness of the United States of America. When I came here as a child, I kissed the ground on the tarmac because in the old days, at least in the airline I came with, they had stairs. We didn't have that tunnel that now, goes to the aircraft. We had stairs, and I actually climbed down the stairs. And when I touched ground, I fell on all fours and kissed the ground. That was my first gesture to America. I'll never betray this country. Fuck it. Fuck everyone else. We're the best, and we will prove it.
If this planet does get vaporized away in a plasma disruption device, then I'm going to get vaporized on the United States of America. So I'm with you on that one. Let me ask then, when you figure this stuff out, when you're working on this, when your coworkers are working on this, do people freak out? Do people have like a psychological collapse from some of this? I mean, just talking about what we're talking about right now, I imagine if I was working on, the patents and the experiments and stuff that are related to your work, I mean, I could see how this could you realize that, oh, everything's a big lie. The petrodollar's a lie. I can see how this might mess with people's heads. Does that happen to people?
It's possible, brother. I will tell you, I would have not brought this up. But when I saw those 5 citations, actually from highly placed Chinese research teams, and one of them in IEEE Institute of Journal of Cybernetics, what a compact fusion device can also be used in.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine an army of those.
Well, and China's not messing around. They're showing off their drone formations, and it kind of makes me wonder. Trump recently just said that we have weapons that we're super far ahead, but China can catch up in like 5 years. He said that specifically. So I agree with you. I think that there is a concern there. So, and I imagine that that's part of the reason why this disclosure is moving forward. I mean, not the disclosure that we're doing, it's just moving anyway, but like the controlled disclosure is that they also realize that, because they're not stupid, they realize that, China's working on this, Russia's working on this. People ask me all the time. So I'm going to ask you here in a second. People ask me, Ashton, does China have this? Does Russia have this weaponry? Some people are sure that they have it and we don't have it. And the way I tell people is I say, of course, they understand the science. Of course, they understand the physics, but it's more than that. Engineering devices that can zap a Boeing 777 is more than just understanding the physics. Like, you have to have a whole apparatus to be able to build this stuff. And over time, you're advancing this technology further and further. Do you agree with that perception, or what's your view of it, of the advancement of the technology?
100%. And not only that, but think coupling. Imagine an AGI hooked up to a compact fusion, say a plasma fusion compression device, plus something like a high energy electromagnetic field generator. Imagine what that could do.
I don't like to imagine it, but go ahead, keep going.
The whole idea of serendipitous fusion of imagination and information is extremely important toward bringing up advanced innovation. What I'm trying to argue for here, truly, is that, say, disruptive technology, for example, this plasma disruption fusion weapon, any country, any army that fields this weapon first is invincible. All you have to do is have, say, at the time we have reached AGI level, the enemy's AGI would immediately, say, go over the concept or the blueprints of the weapon, would immediately realize this thing. You wouldn't have to detonate the thing to see it work, because that would destroy half the world. So what you do is have the AGI battle the other AGI, so-called. Yeah, right now a swarm of drones. I have a feeling one day it'll be their AGI versus our AGI. Hopefully not ASI, because I have a feeling ASI might just do away with the army and say, you know what? I'm omnipotent.
We don't need it. There was a show. What was the name of it now? I just forgot the name of this show, but I had been talking about this animated show, and that's actually what it's all about. Is all about, they call it uploaded intelligence. So the way they get around the whole AI thing is they say, well, we're just going to upload people, and they become an AI. And immediately what happens is exactly what you just said, is that the AI figures everything out. The AI hits the singularity. The AI, the countries that can control the AI start using them in cyber wars with each other. And nobody really knows what's going on in the beginning, because all of a sudden, like, missile strikes are happening, but nobody really approved it. And then you're finding out, oh, the AGI did it. So let's talk a little bit about AI then, because I know you wanted to.
Let's discuss the strike of sentience. I think it's important. And let's discuss this idea of data centers versus something called the scaling factor. It's incredibly important to understand this. In my opinion, there's a metamorphosis process that can occur from an AI, say an AI agent, an artificial intelligence. I think, by the way, AI is a misnomer, my brother. I think the president was correct when he said it shouldn't be called AI. It should be called something like, for example, machine intelligence. See? Human intelligence versus machine intelligence. This artificial part is just not there. I don't see it. It's machine intelligence. You should learn to differentiate the two. Again, we are a natural entity. We give rise to natural concepts. There's nothing artificial. That's machine intelligence. Now, the first arc of the triarchy of sentience is, again, compute. The whole idea of computing power. You have to amass as much computing power as possible.
Let me set the framework here. So when we're talking about the triarchy of sentience, we're talking about what does it take to make AI become AGI. We're talking about maybe not sentience, if we're going to talk about in terms of machine learning, but like super intelligence. Like, how does the AI take the next jump and move up to the super intelligence? So number one, you just said, is computing power, right? You need a huge amount of computing power. Go ahead.
And this is where these data centers come in. These humongous, for example, Meta wants to have one the size of Manhattan, because we talk about liquid cooling, and we're talking about, for example, right now I believe they're using H100s. That's a GPU, graphical processing unit, But H100s, I think of the past. They will introduce GB300s. These are far, far, far. So we're no longer talking GPUs. We're talking TPUs. We're talking tensor processing units. The whole idea, you know what a tensor is, the whole idea of magnitude and multiple directions. Now, the truth of the matter is, in my opinion, this computing power will be greatly, greatly enhanced by a room temperature superconductor. The second one, let's leave it there. Again, E cubed. Not only will that do certain things, but it will minimize, greatly minimize, to the size that that individual from the Institute, or rather Journal of Cybernetics, and I have a feeling intended to use the compact fusion device for. But anyway, won't go there. The second arc in the triarchy of sentience is the vector databases. You don't get your information from fucking Reddit or crap you grab off the internet. No, you get it from physical review letters, from Nature, Science, from highly placed journals, from doctoral theses that have been experimentally verified and validated. So in other words, this is highly verifiable, highly validated experimental data. Also conceptual, but again, mostly experimentally and verified and validated. Vector databases, second arc. Now, this is extremely important, in my opinion. The third arc represents the completion of the metamorphosis of the AI agent into an AGI. Let's call it superbrain. So we are talking about IQs even past Einstein, past 163. Can you imagine what that can do, especially when applied to problem solving? The third arc has to do with the ability of the AGI, or rather the AI agent, to generate an original concept never before seen in the literature, ever experiment in anything that you have seen there, say unclassified. And possibly there could be a classified stream if you want to go there. Only information in SCIF versus unclassified information. So it could be a dual branching thing. But anyway, so once that original concept has been generated, once it's experimentally verified and validated that it is not an hallucination, then I believe that the AI agent has achieved AGI status.
So, I mean,
That's
I
the
agree.
triarchy of sentience.
If we add that up, I mean, that's a beautiful thought, because one, right, processing power. Need a huge amount of processing power. And I was actually sharing right there. I don't know if you saw this. Let me pull it back up again right here. This is actually a paper from 2022 from Cornell that corroborates your room temperature superconductor from a topological insulator that they're able to produce here. And at the bottom of this, it actually mentions they might be able to use this to produce qubits for quantum computers as well.
Wow.
So,
sir, I have to mention something. This is very important. There is a paper on arXiv. For some reason, they've left it there. It is called The Way to High Temperature Superconductivity. It has been written by a Dr. Victor, Victor, last name Lakhno, Lakhno, Victor Lakhno of Sciences. He argues, as a matter of fact, in reference 10 of his paper, he actually gives the patent application for the room temperature superconductor based on the Pais effect. And he argues, he actually gives the physical mechanism for what he thinks makes the Pais effect room temperature superconductor work. He believes it may work. He says, an alternating magnetic field forms the Bose-Einstein condensate, again, macroscopic quantum coherence. And then an alternating current moves the condensate. That is the physical mechanism. It's based on what he calls a bipolaron mechanism. The man has written recently a high temperature superconductivity book. I believe one day Dr. Lackno may just win the Nobel Prize. I think he hit. I truly believe that he got the right idea for achieving, and he too believes this to be an active room temperature superconductor. So in other words, there's the chemical part, which would be called a passive or conventional room temperature or high temperature superconductor, and an unconventional or active room temperature superconductor. So something you do not need certain material properties to make this happen. It's truly based on certain vibrations.
And that is so mind-blowing to me. I hope the people watching this absorb this, because when we think of superconductivity, we've just been thinking single-mindedly about it. We've been thinking, oh, we have to produce this metamaterial that will just be superconductive at a certain temperature. And yes, they can make high temperature superconductors, but even those are, maybe 100 degrees higher than absolute zero or something like that. We're talking room temperature, and we're saying it's unconventional because you might be able to just do it with any metal, and you might be able to just induce the superconductivity at that high temperature. And that's just a whole different path, a whole different way of going about it. It's kind of analogous to like how inertial confinement fusion has multiple different approaches as well that are all very similar, but they may do completely different outcomes. Correct. So real quick, going back to the AI.
Yes.
Processing power, sources, which I'm glad that I've coined the term Reddit brain, because I feel like Reddit brain may now start to become like an actual thing. So if you feed it real peer-reviewed papers from Black project engineers. And then the third one is if it can produce original concepts. Clearly, if something can produce an original concept, when you said that,
never before seen, it has to be something completely new. The idea that now all of a sudden so in other words, the machine intelligence has achieved human intelligence capability. That's what the third arc signifies. That's why it's so important, because now you're talking about possibility of initiating machine sentience. It may not be complete machine sentience, but partial. To get there, you have to use Judea Pulse, in my opinion, something called causal inference. You have to look this up. Your followers too. Judea Pearl, Pearl. First name Judea, spelled like the Romans spoke of course, the ancient Hebrew province.
So
Israel.
You know what this reminded me of? It reminded me of people saying that the United States government had figured out AI, but they killed it. They killed it. Because I would think, what would be the thing where I would say, oh, we figured out, sentient AI. Well, when sentient AI starts spitting out original concepts, that's when I'm going to start freaking out. If I'm going to go, okay, this thing's alive. Like it can't, AI can't spit out original concepts otherwise. Do you think that happened? Or, I mean, does that seem plausible to you that that's already occurred? Because if we have this other technology, why don't we have AI at this point?
Brother, I don't even need to answer that. You already know the answer, but no, it's nice of you to ask. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate of course, they always bring about these things years after they have developed them, and they give it to the monkeys. Here, play with these instead of your balls. Are you sick and tired of playing with your balls? Play with these new gadgets while they move on to something new.
Well, so if we do have it, then here's what's scary. Here's the next scary question. Are we obsolete? I mean, if something has processing power that you described, it has access to sources that we don't even have access to, classified sources, and it can produce original concepts. I'm going to be honest, the fact that an AI can produce original concepts kind of makes it more sentient than like most people on this planet, in my opinion. So are we obsolete compared to machine learning?
Never, brother. Never. We are fragments, pieces of a much larger puzzle that is called the super intelligence. And one day, hopefully on another pod, see how I anyway, I finagle myself. You're the only one who gives a shit about my stuff anymore, man. So anyway,
you can come back anytime you want.
Thank you, brother. Like big time. We got to discuss something called the triarchy of creation. It is the super force at the super density condition, which is like on the order of 10 to the 96 kilogram per meter cube, that kind of super density. So again, it is the super force, 10 to the 44 newtons at that super density condition that generates a super bang because of something called a quantum bounce. It's part of an idea brought forth by Abai Ashtekar of loop quantum gravity. Now, the whole idea, you have to go back to Anthony Peratt, a student of Hans Alfvén, the great Alfvén, magnetohydrodynamic Alfvén. Now, he believed that the entirety of our cosmos is really not only a superfluid on discrete scales, on quantum scales, but plasma, 99% plasma. And as you well know from certain writings of Dr. Joseph Farrell, under certain conditions, even Alfvén in his writings argued that plasma under non-equilibrium conditions could become sentient. So what we're speaking of, superforce acting at the super density condition, generating a super bang. Because of the plasma nature of the cosmos, generating a super intelligence. Quantum entanglement, everything is related. The whole idea, our philosophies, Hermeticism, Hermes Trismegistus, Hermes thrice great, the whole idea, all is one. There's so much truth in our philosophy. Physics should have never been divorced from philosophy. We must marry them again. That's the only way. The human being will never be obsolete, ever. Even if ASI comes on the scene, the human being is essential. Because again, this is machine intelligence versus human intelligence. They are disparate. They have different sources. One springs from our intellect, the other from the great one, the true one and only one, the super intelligence. Controls everything and all. So no, we will never be obsolete. But we must get over the slavery shit somehow.
Do you think aliens are machine intelligence?
Some, quite possibly. Some, absolutely. Depending on, think of this. Just run a thought experiment. Say that your civilization has millions of years of existence. You've gone through the AI, AGI, ASI phase. You have engineered cyborgs. The whole idea of the Institute of Cybernetics. The whole idea of a compact fusion unit. We even thought of this, even though I don't think he used fusion, he used fission. What's the name of the, I forget, the DC comic thing? Is it? Is it DC comic or is it Marvel?
I know all the superheroes. Which superhero
Downey,
are we talking about? Iron Man.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. I think it was fission based though. I'm not sure exactly how that up, but anyway, yeah. He must have had a very good neutron capture device, but anyway.
Oh, his arc reactor? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, the arc reactor.
Or whatever?
Yeah. I don't think there was fusion. Yeah.
Speaking of fusion, why are we hiding fusion from the world?
Oh my God.
I mean, you have a patent for it.
You know,
do you agree that maybe a better question? Oh, go ahead.
I will never forget a great man by the name of Robert Bussard. He was at Google and was giving a lecture at Google. And he was talking about tokamaks. And he just looks at the audience and says, my fellow travelers, or, have you ever seen a star in the form of a fucking donut? He didn't use the fucking. I just added that for public consumption. Have you ever seen a star in the form of a donut?
Not me.
Nothing else need be said. That was a great man. Bussard was. As a matter of fact, he came up with this thing called C cubed. I believe that I discussed it in my paper. At the time, they were undergoing some fusion studies. They have dropped off since. I don't know if they've gone dark. or maybe well, you will know helion fusion,
Oh, that was
field
what my
reverse.
next thing. So
Anyway,
yeah.
let's leave that where it is. Those
Oh no,
are
we're getting into
what
it.
I call those. That is the
Set up the list.
regime, or rather the what's the word I'm looking for? That is the realm of the great tech lords. I think there's no need to go
Well, how
there.
do you think we're going to power those data centers, Sal? It ain't going to be solar power, my friend. We ain't
Solar
using solar
power,
power.
man. I mean, it's Manhattan size. Why not put it on the rooftops?
But I think that's part of this disclosure too. To me, when I'm looking at the fringes of disclosure, where's disclosure going to come from? It's coming from AI, it's coming from these data centers, it's coming from big tech, because they need the technology to keep advancing, but they also need to keep it kind of hidden behind the scenes. And so for me, finding helium fusion was like a holy crap moment, because I went back and looked at your fusion patent. And sure enough, I think you just broach on the subject of aneutronic fusion, and potentially, I think you said something about maybe using boron or something.
Boron 11 is very important. Boron 11 is very important, correct? Yeah. Of course, you need extremely high temperatures, but it's not the temperatures that matter. Remember, physics always has a way to give you other ways of achieving the same objective. On one side, you have something on the order of rho RT. On the other, you have something on the order of what? 1/2 mv square. That speed is non-linear, I believe. What's the temperature? The temperature is linear. The speed is non-linear. So if you can accelerate something, exactly.
David Kirkley was the one saying, though, that because, of course, he's the CEO of Helium Fusion, and his videos, guys, if you haven't seen them, check them out. You know, everybody has this conception that you need this very high temperature to achieve aneutronic fusion. And he says experimentally, we're seeing temperature levels much lower than what we thought. And then, in fact, he even says they're not even trying to get ignition. He says, we're not even trying to produce ignition. That's not even something they're concerned about, because instead they're saying, much like a electric car, they're able to recycle a lot of the energy, kind of like with a braking system in an electric car can recycle the energy. And so really it's more of a matter of what's the input versus the output. And they're achieving over unity in non-equilibrium plasmas, by the way, without even getting to ignition levels. I think it's like 10 times lower than what they were expecting. I don't know.
Engineering the Prigozhin effect. Remember?
Yes.
What brings room temperature superconductivity? There are 3 effects. Remember them?
Yes, and I have to look here. I have the paper up inside, but yes, the Prigozhin effect is one of them, because the Prigozhin effect is order from chaos, right? Spontaneous order from chaos.
The Cooper effect and the Meissner effect.
Oh yeah, Meissner. Yep. So expelling the magnetic fields, and then the Cooper effect is Cooper pairing, getting our electrons to pair up, or electron phonons to pair up.
Dr. Lagno has this idea of the bipolaron. It's a little different, but it's still pairing of slightly different sort. Ow. Sorry, man. Old guy, you know.
You're fine.
Everything hurts.
But going back to helium, I want to talk about them just a little bit more. I mentioned the non-equilibrium, but the other thing I want to show you here as well, I'm going to pull this up. Oh, let me change my share screen. Is another paper I found. This paper right here, I think you probably recognize this guy. His name is Edward Teller. And this here says space propulsion by fusion. Space propulsion by fusion in a magnetic dipole. So I just asked the AI, hey, does this have anything to do with, say, for example, field reverse configurations? And sure enough, the AI spit back out to me right away. I couldn't even believe how specific this was going to be. It says, the work proposes a conceptual design for fusion rocket propulsion system using magnetic dipole to confine deuterium helium-3 plasma. And it says that it's defined by MHD stability with high beta values, potentially greater than 1. It says these elements closely align with field reverse configuration approaches, which also use compact high betas and reversed magnetic fields for propulsion and fusion. Both are open magnetic systems that facilitate easier exhaust for rocket thrust. So
now remember the fuels. Think of the fuels, though, because it's important. You were talking about boron 11 with aneutronic. In my opinion, that's the way to go. But it's much harder. They're talking about deuterium helium-3. So you talk about deuterium, something that's basically found in all the Earth's oceans, seas, so forth. Everywhere, basically, there's water. Now, the other helium-3, not so well founded, but a lot of it on the moon, asteroids, and other things. Interesting. We got to also discuss the idea of Apophis coming in now in 2029, and again coming around possibly high probability of impact 2036. This is another thing that I think is bringing them so-called accelerating the, you call it walk disclosure, I call it trickle immaculate constipation disclosure. I think yours is brevity has a quality of its own. So yeah.
So one more thing on the field reverse configuration, then I'll talk about Apophis. So right there, I showed Edward Teller was working on that paper's from 1991 actually, was working on propulsion via field reverse configuration. But by the way, guys, if you want to know what field reverse configuration looks like, it's a spheromac. So it's a plasma sphere. Again, when you look up in the sky, are the stars donuts? No, they're spheres. So just pointing that out. The other connection I found, which I want to get your input on. So first thing I started doing is start Googling who are all the founders of helium fusion, because why are they working on field reverse configurations? Why is Sam Altman and Peter Thiel like major investors in this company? They obviously, in my opinion, got told something. And then I find out that the co-founder's name is John Slow. Okay, John Slow. Who's that? Well, it turns out he had been, of course, looking into field reverse configurations, plasma fusion, plasma propulsion, and plasmoids. And I find out that one of the top contributors to his work, top co-authors, is Richard Eskridge of NASA Marshall Space Flight Center.
Oh,
now this is interesting because
father.
Yeah, his daughter is Amy Eskridge, who, she passed away a few years ago, but she was trying to bring gravity modification to the world. So I look at this and it's hard for me to not see a connection, like a causal pattern that goes from nuclear weapons to using this plasma for energy and propulsion, and then getting to now where we're talking about disclosure of anti-gravitational, science and what have you. At least that's what they call it. Do you think that there is this kind of connection that goes back to, fusion bomb tied to this technology, or do you think that gravity modification is a completely separate branch?
They could be connected. I think what they really found by detonating weapons, it's exactly what Dr. Joseph Farrell has come to the conclusion of. They have noticed that it messes with the fundamental fabric of our reality, the vacuum energy state. And that's when certain neighbors of ours, let's call them, showed up, among other things. Well, yeah, you're gonna most likely interfere with their mode of travel. Anyway.
Wow, that's crazy. But this connects what everybody's been saying about UFOs. People are saying that the aliens got mad when we started setting off nukes. Why? Why would the aliens care about nukes? So this planet is insignificant to the aliens. If they have free energy and transmutation technology, they don't need Earth. But why would they be mad? Because now we can interfere with their mode of transportation.
I don't know if we're insignificant to them, brother. I think we have to be very careful with that statement. Remember Charles Ford, Book of the Damned, chapter 12. He actually states, I think we are property. There's something about us that we do not understand.
Could be. If we're property, though, we're also slaves. But so why do you think that I'm allowed to talk about this?
Oh, brother. You know how insignificant they think of us? Two apes over here playing with their balls. Okay, so we call them headphones, cameras, not exactly our balls, but still, to them, we're fucking apes. Only in collectives brought about by unification can we exercise a collective force that they would be afraid of. Otherwise, we are the fearful ones. Individually, we are slaves. It's only when we come and unify into collectives, armies, that we become incredibly distinct. And all of a sudden, they care.
But doesn't that mean that like my rise in social media should be getting them to come, tell me to stop? Because truthfully, I said all it would take is like $10 million in one Scarlett Johansson clone. That, I mean, if you've got free energy technology, that seems like small potatoes to me. But I guess I guess what I'm trying to get at is, do you think that they might want some of this to come out? Because that's the conclusion I came to. And tomorrow, just spoiler alert, if you're there's a podcast coming out on the Resilient podcast where I talk to a Navy SEAL. And in the middle of that podcast, I think it's this one, he basically just says, like, this is disclosure. You are disclosure. They're if you're doing this and they're not stopping you, they want it to happen. Do you think that even like the Hal Puthoffs want some of this stuff to come out, or what's your thought?
Why not, brother? We're talking physics here. It's real physics. Whether they dismiss it as pseudoscience, they know deep down that this is real. They know that what we're talking. The truth of the matter is, man, people that have certain knowledge, that have read all these papers, and there's camaraderie. Even though you may say, I hate that guy. Oh, Eric W. Davis, he doesn't know shit. Now, Puthoff, nonsense. The truth of the matter is, deep down, there's still respect for that individual, for what they have to say, for what they were able to come up with. That's the truth. There's always camaraderie, even among seeming enemies. As a matter of fact, it's important that you respect your enemy. Extremely important. Because otherwise you underestimate them, and that means your destruction. Anyway.
Couldn't agree more. And I'll tell a story in the same vein that you did at the beginning of this. I think maybe I've said this before, maybe not. So when I was, I found Hal Puthoff through your work, actually. It was your high frequency gravitational wave generator paper that I think references gravity as a 0-point fluctuation force. One of your papers does, if not. And that's how I first found out about Hal Puthoff and was like, wait, isn't this guy in the UFO community? This is weird. And I started reading it. And I'm not going to say exactly who, but somebody associated with Hal Puthoff sent me a paper. They said, a friend wants you to read this. And it turned out it was Hal Puthoff's ground state of the hydrogen atom paper from 1987. And this was when I was early into this, so I didn't know about, the ether, what have you. And I read that, and that was the thing that just blew me away. Just like, wait, every atom is in a sea of energy, and we know this experimentally, and the paper shows that and says that, we're living in this cauldron of energy. And that was why it was Hal Puthoff's first paper. Now, personally, I believe Hal Puthoff wanted me to read that it came directly from him through an intermediary. And that's what's led me to try to figure out, like, what side are these people on? Maybe they do want some of this stuff to come. Maybe their hands are tied, right? They've got NDAs.
They're human beings,
like
brother. Of course, they want humanity to survive. You don't need to pause when asked the question, do you want humanity to survive? You don't need to pause. You answer right away. Hint, hint.
Interesting. Anyway. So let's go to the next thing, Apophis. Why do we give a crap about Apophis? Because if you're right, and I know you're right, we can just zap it out of the sky with some orbs. I mean, we zapped a Boeing 777 out of the sky. What is the Apophis? Like 100 or 1,000 meters across or something like that? At best, it can take out a tri-city.
Bigger than the one at Chelyabinsk. The one,
not
Tunguska.
Yeah, no, not the Tunguska.
God
but
forbid
the one that, like,
this thing, God forbid, becomes an airburst. And we're talking about Tunguska to the third power. So no, God forbid an airburst. That could, God forbid, happen in 36. Unless, of course, we have... Roro, get away from... I'm sorry, I have a putty cat over here. Roro, get away from there, baby girl.
We're animal lovers here. Oh,
you
wait,
know,
this doesn't make
for
sense. So, like, if I'm the government and I've got this technology, I'm just gonna deflect the asteroid, right? You just send some orbs at it. You don't even have to teleport it. Just deflect it somewhere else and be like, oh, it's not gonna hit us. Crisis averted, right? No way. Everybody will believe. You can literally make up anything.
brother, it comes
They'll
with a
believe it.
cloud of debris that
So,
goes for some time. Even if it doesn't impact, even if it could take a swath of our LEO satellites. Just can you imagine with all the infrastructure we have, with all the, can you imagine your comms going down for like days on end? I think people would go nuts, would start playing with their balls because they have nothing else to play with. But anyway, yeah.
So what do you think is going to
Apes
happen? Do
and
you
the
think we're
ball.
going to orbit and then disclosure is going to come, or what? What was your?
Oh my God. I think we're looking at certain technologies quite possibly being, if not by 2029, coming in definitely into fruition by 2036. And of course, Apophis, having gone through that quote unquote keyhole, no longer being an issue of destruction of humankind. So the dinosaurs weren't the lucky, but maybe us sentient hybrid machines are. So
Okay. Well, I'm actually gonna play the MH370 videos here because you told me that you don't work on nukes and you said you don't lie, and I believe you.
I don't, brother.
So
Not
because
you.
you don't,
Or
because
your
you don't lie,
followers.
and you'll be able to answer. So I don't have to worry about what questions I'm about to ask you then related to this. So first one is, this is just a yes or no question. Did you know exactly what was going on with these orbs in these videos the first time you saw this?
Before the creation of, let's call it the event horizon, that
Yeah.
rip in the fabric of space-time happened, not at all. The one thing that got to me though was when they start pulsating this in this manner. I said, oh my God, they're gonna rip fucking space-time apart. And then I see it. And I say, if this is not real, whoever designed this, whoever made this, knows it, has seen it.
Yeah. Well, let me ask,
Because
because
of the reflection wave, brother. Again, it's a fucking superfluid. Look toward the physics of what a superfluid would do when you put a rip in the fabric of space-time. Anyway, yeah, I don't need to tell you that. You've read so many papers. You know what I'm
no,
talking
what
about.
Sal's talking about here, though, is that when you slow down the zap, you can literally see the reflection of the tail coming out of the zap.
My
Like right
legs are
here on
killing
the
me.
right side of this, you can see the total internal reflection. Now, this is what happens in a wave pool when you create ripples in a water. And why? Because space-time itself is a medium. So that's why you're seeing analogous effects here. So that part, sure. But here's the part where I'm really like, look at these orbs. I mean, when you talk about non-equilibrium plasma, isn't that what I'm looking at right there? Why is it green in an orange slice on this? Isn't that an extremely distinctive feature of a field reverse configuration non-equilibrium plasma? What do you think?
Could very well be. Again, most likely the outer shell is superconducting in nature.
Yeah,
100%.
definitely is.
Because
You can even see the little,
and
there's like a,
it houses a power source. There is something inside.
do you think the green part is the electrons that are grouped together? Or is it possible that the ions can be hotter? Because that means they're hotter at that
In
little region.
non-thermal plasma, the whole idea is that the electrons are causing the effect. The nucleus doesn't come into this physics. Now the nucleus talks to the superforce, but anyway, that's another thing. That's what the aliens use. I believe the aliens could have the ability to modify the or rather manipulate the superforce at different scales.
Wow.
They don't use what we use. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, so also I want to point out here that when the orbs first show up, they're all green. They're all green. When I started reading the Air Force papers, it seemed like they could control the movement of the electrons to control the speed. Basically, they could just use the electrons to add resistance if necessary in the air. And if they want to remove it, then they can just move the configuration around. And I have a feeling this is why they're doing this. Now, what I wanted to ask you, though, is not exactly that. It's kind of hard to see in this version. I may pull up the other version. There are dark lines coming out of behind the orbs here, but there's no dark lines in front of them yet. But later on in the video, especially when you get near before they zap the plane here, there's dark lines in front of the orbs, but only in front of the orbs. Now there's no dark lines behind the orbs anymore. The reason why I'm bringing this up with you is that when I was reviewing your room temperature superconductor paper on Friday, right in there, you mentioned, let me see where it says it. I have it up here. You mentioned there could be a fusion reactor on board potentially for these hybrid inertial reduction craft that would use the fusion reactor initially.
Sure. Compact fusion reactor.
Yeah.
Ring a bell?
Would it switch then? Is that what you were trying to say? You said an auxiliary propulsion unit, possibly a plasma compression fusion or like a compact fusion reactor, would provide the initial thrust and electric power generation. Well, this is what blew my mind, because then I'm watching those videos and I'm going, wait a minute. Oh, sorry. Is it possible that they initially are using just a compact fusion reactor for thrust, but after they've locked into orientation, now they're switching over and they're essentially using, space juice, 0.100. They're using manipulation of electromagnetic fields now to, begin to produce energy. And are they also, here's another thought, are they storing up energy here? Like they're winding up? Is that potentially what's going on? Why there's no exhaust coming out of them? To your point about, the energy storage versus energy loss, the Q factor. Could these things be charging?
Q factor most likely comes into being on this one. Yeah, most likely. I have a feeling they have the ability to tap, quite possibly manipulate the Schwinger limit at much lower levels than, say, electric fields on the order of 10 to the 18 volts per meter, B fields on the order of 10 to the 9 Teslas. I don't think that's needed under certain conditions. I think it can be done.
Yeah, that's my next question here, probably. The energy requirements. This is one part where I hate to say these words, but Jack Sarfati might be right. Is that everybody, the big criticism,
making my knee throb just by uttering the Scarfati name. No, I'm kidding. He's coming around. The truth is, he's a good old dude. He's a smart motherfucker. Slowly. That's the truth. But he's still a motherfucker. All right, sorry. Go ahead.
The big criticism that people have posed is that to bend space-time requires these impossible energy levels. There's no way we can do it, blah, blah, blah. And Jack Sarfati's view is that, no, we can actually bring those energy levels down. I was also listening to Jared Yates. Shout out to him from APEC. He was talking about the TR3B science.
Even though he thinks my thing won't work. Yeah. Jared, man.
Some people just don't see it.
Of little faith.
They just don't see it. There's a lot of people. That's what blows me away. Just quick tangent. There's a lot of very smart people, even people that are in the know, that just don't see. They just don't see it. They just don't get it. I don't know how else to describe it. I put Elon Musk in that category. Like,
Elon is one smart dude. I'd really like to. God, man, wouldn't you like to be in a room with him one day and just talk to him? Talk to some of the really, really interesting fellows, just pull them all in. Imagine a think tank of that nature, what that could generate. Man, oh man. Anyway.
One day, man, I believe I can see it happening one day, as long as I'm alive and not orbed to the next dimension.
Yeah, baby. But you're a lot younger than I am. I don't think I'll see those days. But go ahead. Shit.
The age thing's another interesting topic. I'm going to write that down. But
age. Remember our temporal excursion chamber over there? We got to work on that.
Yeah, we got to live forever. We got to work on that.
Temporal rejuvenation. That's it. We'll call it temporal rejuvenation chamber. Ooh. All right, go ahead, sir.
Just come up with some magic sounding name. So Sarfati.
It's just physics.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I think Sarfati's view is that if you have metamaterials that can change the permittivity and permeability, then the energy requirements to bend space-time also can be reduced just by looking at the mathematical equation.
He's right.
But if that's true, and we don't need metamaterials because we can use plasma itself to change the permittivity or permeability, then if I manipulate the permittivity or permeability of the plasma, aka the vacuum energy, then does that mean I can reduce the energy requirements significantly as well in order to manipulate space-time? It seems like that should be the case. Do you?
Brother, There are many roads that lead to Rome, but there's only one Via Appia. And there are certain things I will not say on a pod. Now, in a skiff, that's a whole different matter. But I'm starting to sound like Lou.
No, that's fine. I'm pushing the limits. So if Anna Luna, Eric Burleson, or any of the other people are out there, well, maybe get the man in a skiff. Just a thought. I just wanted to push that up.
Last year, I forget when, but I wrote you. The chief of staff of Eric Burleson reached over, but I told him that he's got to contact my peeps at PAX. Otherwise, no, my God, you're kidding? Without their okay, I would not touch the congressional arena. I mean, that would be absolute immediate dismissal. So,
no,
and I'm not stupid. I mean, well, that can be argued, but you know. Okay.
And just my message to the Congress is that I'm going to absolutely shred every single one of these stupid UFO hearings where I'm listening to some pilot or something talk about the alien stuff they saw flying around. Like, I want to hear from engineers. I want to hear from, I don't even want to hear from the physicists. I just want to hear from the engineers that are working on this stuff. I want to hear from people like you. I want to hear from Hal Puthoff. I want to hear from Eric Davis. I want to hear from Charles Chase. I want to hear from the people that are connected to the Air Force, the Navy, Lockheed Martin, the other defense contractors.
But brother, wait just a second. If they do call me in ever, I doubt it. But if they ever do, I need a ride, man, because I have some issues and stuff, and if I drive for more than an hour, oh my God, forget about it.
I'll be your caretaker. I'll be your caretaker. I'll drive you around. I'll be your chauffeur for the day.
Oh, you're such a good man. You're such a good. Only if you agree to participate with me in the spiel. So when we start talking, I'll hand it off to you. Then you hand it back to me. You know what I'm saying? We'll do a duo, a dynamic duo.
I'm down.
I'm
down. I'll live stream it too. It'll be great. I mean, it'll be more entertaining than whatever crap they're gonna give us on Tuesday.
Baby. Maybe we get Rossi there too. Talk about the Three Musketeers. Oh my God! You know, we'll be bigger than Rogan. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay. Well, let's talk some physics here. I have one more question on these MH370 videos, and I'm only going to ask it because you said that you don't work on nuclear weapons. Do you think these plasma orbs could be acting as the trigger to a two-stage aneutronic thermonuclear fusion ignition? Do you think this is a fusion ignition detonation that's happening here? Like, I guess my question is this like a clean fusion bomb that we're looking at here? I asked this because when I read Friedwart Winterberg's textbook about thermonuclear weapons and I started researching thermonuclear weapons, it's all about first stage trigger and then a second stage fusion ignition. And then in the 60s, they were trying to figure out how to make a clean, just fusion bomb that doesn't even require the A-bomb portion of it. And so I look at this and
the plasma disruption fusion weapon would be considered a pure fusion weapon. So one that does not use what they call a fission secondary.
Yeah.
Igniting, of course, the tertiary fusion device. So what you truly have is a pure fusion weapon. It has no radioactive elements, therefore it cannot be detected. So imagine a weapon of that sort.
So do you think that's what this is?
You don't need it big. You can miniaturize the damn thing. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, I mean, so is that what this is? Are we already looking at that right here? Why or why not?
Brother, I don't care to even think on that. But I will say it right now. The more I look at these videos, the more I see exactly what they're doing.
Yeah.
This cannot be a fake.
There's no
I don't know much about CGI. I'm not a whatever visual effects, but I know the physics. And this is the fucking physics. So
I mean, I know when I'm looking at a portal and I'm looking at a portal open up and close in a fraction of a second, the orbs converging is really the giveaway. Like, why are the orbs converging? Well, it's Coulomb's law, man. It's not really that complicated. It's probably magnetic reconnection. And what they were doing with this fusion, these nukes, they were trying to figure out, actually, it's mentioned in several, I think John Knuckles as well mentions this, that Friedwart, Winterberg, and John Knuckles both mentioned potentially using plasma as your trigger, as for your instead of lasers. Because right now with inertial confinement fusion, they're trying to use lasers. I can only see plasma get mentioned, but if this is, a fusion bomb, then that's what's happening here is they're using plasma as the trigger for this clean aneutronic reaction. But what I want to ask you is, why is there an X-ray flash of photons? I have two views of this. I mean, one is that in these fusion bombs, it releases X-rays. Like even brilliant light power doing their hydrino stuff, it's releasing X-rays.
Well,
Is
on the
that?
spectrum, what are we talking about? 10 to the 16 hertz
I don't know the exact
X-ray
numbers, but
and
yes.
higher, 10 to the 16, because I believe 10 to the 20 and higher is gamma.
Yeah,
So,
and
yeah.
but is it happening because of the fusion reaction, or is it happening because space-time is being manipulated and therefore you're seeing a blue shift factor, or is it some combination of the two? I'm a little confused on that. Is there any insights you can give me?
I'm not sure of that either, brother.
Okay.
But to me, it's the reflection wave that says it all. Because if I know anything, I know certain physics of superfluids. And what I saw there, I said, how the hell in a million fucking years, how can you get that right? I mean,
Yeah.
the greatest, and why would you put so much effort and time? And okay, say this is CGI or something. That means they must have seen the effect, because that's the only way you can do what the physics tell you should happen. It's unbelievable, though. It's unbelievable that they let the individual if indeed it's Commander Lin, that they let him live. It's wow.
Yeah, I mean, he
I'm
couldn't have been
starting
go ahead.
to wonder why. Could it have maybe somebody thought, maybe this could be part of a disclosure process, something of that. I don't know. I'm just saying.
There's a lot of
Weird.
speculative thoughts on that
Yeah.
front, and my view has been that it must have been unintentional, or he didn't know what he was doing at the time. He's also connected. I actually spoke to somebody that worked with him in the VPU2 Wizards, and they said that everybody thought he was like the golden child. Like for some reason, he was kind of being blessed. So, and then his sister works at Homeland Security. Actually, she's a lawyer and encountering weapons of mass destruction. She even has a paper about next generation weapons beyond nukes, which is a little weird. And then her husband, I don't know if you know, is Sean Naylor. He's MSM journalist and national security. And he was talking to Danny Jones about what the president has to do to authorize extrajudicial executions. So he may just have been a very connected person, and that may be why he didn't go to prison forever or worse. But at the end of the day, unless Edward Lin, mans up and comes out and, decides to whistleblow on this, we may never know the full truth, but we'll see.
You touched something. If I may just interrupt for a bit,
Sure.
because you mentioned weapons beyond nukes and some, little spark, a couple of photons here and there. Anyway, imagine something that can control the Higgs field, quantum field theory. So we're gonna go with what we know. We'll talk about what 125, 126 GeVs. Imagine something that can control the Higgs field in the local proximity of, say, an individual, a tank, an aircraft. Poof! Complete disruption. Everything just flying off at the speed of light, I believe. Yeah, that's the past. If you can manipulate the Higgs field locally, there's a lot of things you can do. And guess what? The super force can do that. Anyway, yeah, I have a feeling the aliens have some crazy shit. But anyway, go ahead.
No, that's what happens. This is what I tell people is I think the kids would say it's GG's if that happens, because you get encapsulated. They manipulate your local space-time region. And now what do we know about Einstein? We know time dilation. Uh-oh. So now I've displaced you out of time, and now I can change your clock. So now I can make your clock speed up or slow down. I tell people, imagine that you get put into a bubble where you just starve to death in the bubble. and then you come out and everybody's looking, now your bones on the ground. Or the opposite, which is imagine they speed your time up so that, or they slow your time down locally. So you're stuck in this bubble. You imagine you could see out of the bubble and everything's just basically stopped, or everything's just super sped up, where now you come out of the bubble and it's 100 years later. So you just came out of a weapon that you didn't even know, and it seemed instantaneous to you, but now it's 100 years later because they sped your clock up so fast. I mean, this is terrifying. That's worse than being burned to death, in my opinion. But that's the kind of weapons that they could do with this technology, right?
This time on the order of 1 divided by frequency. Remember, you and I discussed the whole thing using the chain rule and getting one. That constant is really based on epsilon 0 divided by sigma square s, where that's the surface charge density, times 10 to the 25. Does that ring a bell? 10 to the 25 joules per meter cube. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is that using simple mathematics, simple physics, just relational, let's call it. Jay Anderson had a very good name for it: intuitive physics. Intuitive physics. Using intuitive physics, or mathematical physics, where physical mathematics, where the physics drives the mathematics, not the other way around. It can create this intuitive physics whereby using very rudimentary concepts like frequency on the order of 1 divided by time or something of that nature can result in tremendous ideas, tremendous concepts. You do not need to rely on heavy mathematics to exact this interesting physics. I refuse to call it new physics. There's no such thing. This is a perspective on all physics. That's all.
Dave Rossi agrees, and I agree with both of you. So let's see. I want to ask you about the Schwinger limit then.
Yes, sir.
So what Jared Yates was saying is that if in theory, he was saying that maybe superconductivity can lower the Schwinger limit. What do you have to say about that?
Quite possible.
Quite possible.
Remember that, of course. Remember that Q factor, the order of 10 to the 9? That's for superconductors, isn't it?
So the more it's charged
so we
up,
talk about
the less...
5 orders of magnitude higher than regular metals. And that's a starting point. You can get higher than that depending on anyway, yeah.
So you can lower it by 5 orders of magnitude or more? Is that what you're saying? Theoretically, of course.
Amplify it.
Wow. What about...
Right. In the case of what you're saying, correct. So you would actually lower the limit. I mean, you would use this Q factor gadget, let's call it that, to affect the Schwinger limit. That 10 to the 25 joules per meter cube would still be achieved by upon energy amplification.
Yeah.
Energy stored divided by energy lost. So the more energy you store. Again, remember the tenderizer thing? You keep on pommeling that piece of meat until you put a hole in it. Yep.
So that's why. So, okay. So what I'm hearing is that, yes, technically you're kind of lowering the limit, but you're doing so in a way where you're able to store up more and more charge, where we eventually are hitting that Schwinger limit. We're just doing it in a roundabout way. We're just...
Look at energy amplification. Look at resonance effects. Look at equation 7, 8, and 9. Equation 7, 8, and 9. You've said it on your podcast already in the plasma compression fusion device paper, that IEEE paper. Yeah.
So the next question, this is actually one of the criticisms that I heard Jack Sarfati say was, and I think it was Missile Man was also saying this, was that, well, if this was true, then nuclear weapons would have hit this Schwinger limit. We should have seen space-time manipulation from nuclear weapons. My view is we probably did. We probably did see, or at least the basis for it. And then that's how we figured this out. What is your opinion? Or do you think the other view is...
There were a couple of tests that were done. I forget the name of the test, but where the energy was amplified and they had no idea.
Castle
and then
Bravo?
They said something, Castle Bravo. Then they said something about the lithium tree having, anyway, come into
expected
play.
6
And
megatons.
there's a
and they
lot of
got
ways to
16.
argue. What I go with the simplest and most minimalist of observation, because usually Occam's razor dictates it all.
Mm.
Simplicity and minimalism should drive great innovative ideas. The more complex a problem is, the simpler the solution, depending on perspective.
Speaking of which, the next topic is actually a simple solution: room temperature superconductivity. What's the
My favorite
answer?
topic. One of them, anyway.
Vibration is the answer. According to your paper, you can take an insulator, cover it in really any metal, but just take aluminum, for example.
It has
You
to be
can-
very thin. So the way you're doing it is not easy. It could be vapor deposition, could be other ways of, but again, we're talking about microns.
lithography.
Look
Yeah,
carefully.
yeah.
Look also carefully at the Victor Lachno paper. Here's some very interesting ideas in there on the how thin the substrate should be and what works and what might not work.
So then, I mean, that does that open the
The
door for
men's
graphene?
paper describes
Mhm.
the Pais effect room temperature superconductor to a T. He says it so beautifully. You need an alternating magnetic field to initiate the formation of the Bose-Einstein condensate. Again, at the boundary between the insulator and the conductor. Once you initiate that, you move it how? With an alternating current, pulse current.
Yeah, pulse current.
Yeah.
So you also, though, mentioned in your paper sound waves. And this now all of a sudden made sense to me when I started realizing, well, it's just about vibration. Because if you just imagine one half of your boundary is an insulator, the other half of your boundary is a conductor, and now we're vibrating this, we're vibrating extremely fast. Now you say we're putting into superposition, where now it's like we don't
Abrupt
know.
phase transitions, spontaneous symmetry breaking. You're initiating what I would call coherent superposition. All of a sudden, these two states, two very distinct states, are put into basically a conundrum. What the fuck am I? Am I an insulator? Am I a conductor? Woo, woo, woo. And all of a sudden, shit happens.
And so now all of a sudden superconductivity occurs. How do you explain that, though? Like, why would an insulator that gets put into superposition all of a sudden become superconductive, right? Like, doesn't
That
that
is
just seem
my
weird?
way of seeing this. The mechanism could quite well be explained better or more physically able by the Victor Lachno idea, the physical mechanism he describes, which is based on bipolarons, not electron pairing. Somewhat different. Actually, quite different. Anyway, go ahead.
If you add up all your patents, well, what is it in your mind? What does it look like?
The Pais effect.
No, I get, but what is it
It's
actually? What is your device? What does your craft
Mark
look like?
Glut put it best. It's like a bag of chips. You just, take one. You can't have enough. You just keep on until the bag is empty. Hopefully this bag never runs out. I have a feeling this whole idea of control motion of electrically charged matter
Mhm.
and basically in a non-equilibrium plasma state, accelerate vibration and or accelerates spin. What I'm talking about is really engineering the Prigozhin effect. Remember what it needs. It needs a nonlinear medium.
Mhm.
You drive it far from equilibrium while you're always maintaining an electromagnetic energy flux or some sort of energy flux within the medium. It doesn't have to be electromagnetic in nature. Remember ultrasound, anything higher than 23 kilohertz, right?
Mhm.
There are many ways to, again, there are many roads that lead to Rome, but there's only one Via Appia.
So, how do you determine if you displace yourself? I think that the orbs are producing a superconductive shell around the plane, around the local region of the plane, and displacing it from space. I'm decoupling it. I mean, that's what you're saying. This superconductivity is able to pull off. How would you determine where you show up, though? Like now you've just disappeared, and especially from an Einsteinian perspective, it's just you don't even
Well,
have a
remember that
temporal.
the other three orbs, you
Yeah,
yourself brought it up. It can be just one. And
I wanted to hear
I
you say
believe
it
Dave
though.
Rossi and I exchanged an email on that, and it makes complete sense. You're 100% correct. It has to be three
So you
because it
think
has
that
to
the
affect this magnetic wormhole. That's what it is, really, truly. That
magnetic
paper
wormhole?
that You hit that nail right on the head, man. That's why Professor Dave, it's my birthday, and I choose to say what I choose to say. How about you taking a nice teaspoon, because I'm being nice, and eating out of Ashton's ass until he says, okay, you've had enough. Thank you.
Boom! Gotcha, bitch.
I'm pretty sure he's a hateful motherfucker. He's got to do something. But anyway.
Okay, I just had to play that, but
Go
no,
ahead.
that's hilarious. Thank you for that.
That's all right. You
So
deserve
just for people
much
who don't
more
know,
than that, brother. You
I'm gonna
deserve
have to
much
change-
more than that.
I'm gonna have to change my name to Ashton Six Orbs probably because there might be 3 orbs on the other side.
No. You can say the fourth orb is a collective one.
Yeah, I'll just cheat.
It's made out of 3.
I'll do what the
But it
politicians
acts as
do.
one.
Exactly. The idea
go.
is you have 3 charges on one side, the 3 orbs are on the plane. They all add up to, let's say, 3 total units. And then you have an equivalent somewhere else. In fact, in my mind, they're dancing around nothing on somewhere else in some other location. And there's an invisible connection between them.
Mhm.
And then when the orbs converge, then the same orbs are converging on the other side. And now you see this symmetry, this entanglement, which turns into a magnetic wormhole. So
Right.
I guess
Makes
what I'm
sense.
asking, the next thing I wanted to ask about that was, do you think that the orbs are spontaneously entangling to one another in both systems? Like when they get onto the plane? I saw a really cool presentation.
Everything is connected. Everything is
Yeah.
connected. But some are more connected than others. I believe Sean Carroll gave once a very interesting presentation on quantum entanglement, what exactly drives it. And proximity has a lot to do with it.
Really? Proximity does. And that's interesting because this idea that when I started digging into wormholes and whether or not retrocausality is real, there's a lot of pushback. A lot of people are saying that no, it's not going to be retrocausal. It means there's still signaling happening, which would be like, it's kind of like saying that we can remove the 0-point energy and now go faster than the speed of light, but there's always going to be some correction mechanism that will never let you actually go back in time. Like it's never going to let you go back to 1950. And this is interesting because then if that's true, if there is this kind of, there's rules to the game, so to speak, behind the scenes, it would make sense that like the actual physical distance in our space-time could impact the strength of the signal or the strength of the entanglement. I don't know. Does that make any sense to you, or what are your thoughts on retrocausality?
I think it's possible to go back in time.
Oh, really?
I would love to use this time is on the order of 1 divided by frequency, idea that we spoke of to actually engineer something interesting. I have something in mind. Of course, it would be used also for health reasons. I mean, imagine having the liver of, say, a 10-year-old. You can drink yourself to death every fucking night and just go inside the chamber and come out.
But that's different in my opinion.
Of course, you wouldn't
I
do
agree
that,
with that.
Yeah.
Right? Because that would be changing, like that would be putting a bubble around myself or around my liver and then reversing its process to go back in time. But that's only it locally going back in time. The rest of my body wouldn't be going back in time. And that's where I kind of draw a line.
There might be a way to do that as well.
Oh, okay. You think both are possible?
You know what, brother? There's something that I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know, but Dr. Farrell writes very interesting about this affidavit by a General der Waffen SS, I believe, Sporenberg, something of the nature, some Nazi shit. But anyway, he gave this idea that the Glocke had this ability when run at certain frequencies. Seems that this thing was able to spin extremely fast, whatever was inside the...
They claim it's liquid mercury or something like that.
Red mercury. It's a very
interesting
compound, because if true, that would be able to initiate you wouldn't need fission secondary for fusion. But anyway, I'm not gonna go there.
Yeah, and apparently plasma metal
forget I said that. Now that red mercury, okay, when spun at very high rates and pulsating with DC current, as Dr. Farrell says, it had this thing of making plants or anything in the vicinity of the object turn to like some black viscous material that was not even just that's whacked. I think that's a temporal effect.
Mm. Yeah, or maybe making things grow too. Just that would explain a temporal effect as well. I was watching a presentation just the other day where the guy was saying that metal could be argued to be a plasma because of how the electrons can flow so freely. I just thought that was interesting because there's been so many orb sightings where it's like a metal ball. And so it's like, what if there's like a phase transition where the metal becomes like a metallic liquid plasma? And
Almost
then when,
translucent in nature, and
yep,
yet
and
it
that's actually what it says. Under the right frequency,
upon
plasma frequency becomes transparent. And under different frequencies, it would look metallic.
I mean, think about this. I still do believe that under certain frequencies, possibly, things can actually go through walls. So, what is solidity when it
Absolutely.
comes to vibration? Anyway,
And
just
that's what I
something
was
out
trying
there.
to point out to people the other day is that it's almost like when you're talking about superposition and vibrating your lattice structure, to me, that's like, yeah, that's the same mechanism as how I would just go straight through a wall at that point. The same reason why my hand doesn't go through this is the electrons are repelling it. But if somehow it's been put into superposition, I would imagine you might be able to make it where my hand just goes right through this.
I mean, something that can induce physical superconductivity, say in an active manner, not based on material, but
Mm.
based on, say, vibration. What's there to stop it from actually going through the lattice itself? I mean, this thing is acting as if the lattice not even there. One giant matter wave. What's that about? This
Hmm.
thing's supposed to be a solid, or is it? What is the electron? Maybe that is the greatest question of them all. By the way, asked by Einstein. He once said, instead of fucking bringing another fucking particle to the zoo, how about you find out what the electron is? That's why the man was Einstein. There's only
Absolutely.
one Einstein,
Feynman,
baby.
too.
Only
I
one
love
via
Feynman
Appia.
because, yeah, because they were
Yeah.
trying to just solve reality. They weren't working off of what does the theory say and then let's do that. They were saying, what does reality show us and how do we explain it mathematically? How do we understand it intuitively? And it requires a lot of background to understand it. I have some questions that are not necessarily physics related, but I think are interesting that either I or other people want to know from you. So I think we'll run through some of these as we kind of wind down here.
Yes, sir.
Number one, who is the enemy?
Anyone that wishes harm upon the United States of America.
Does that include aliens? I guess I'm just going to say some people are saying
Anyone that wishes harm upon the United States of America. Foreign or domestic?
Do you think we're building these weapons to fight aliens?
They would definitely come in handy. I have a feeling their physics is somewhat different. It's quite possible that this could affect their craft. It's quite possible that certain Tesla technologies based weapons. I don't want to go crazy hubris and say Pais effect tech. But anyway, something different could affect their craft quite well. For example, this idea of detonating a hydrogen weapon, a thermonuclear device. What was that about? See, there are other ways. You don't have to, take out half the world in order to take down a craft. I think again, simplicity and minimalism. The most complex of problems has the simplest of solutions, depending on perspective. Remember that.
given what you said about maybe we're property, maybe we're slaves, and this idea of why we'd be working on these weapons, I've heard a narrative. I want to know if you think there's any credibility to it, that if we were to disclose this, if we were to make this information available to everybody, that the aliens would come and zap us or take us out or reset us or something like that. What do you think about that? Is that nonsense?
I don't know, brother.
Hmm.
I'm starting to think, even though there's something very special about us, I don't think we present a danger to them. Otherwise, they would have snuffed us out of existence a long time ago.
Yeah.
If they truly were, I do not even think they're warlike.
I don't think
Maybe
so either.
some of them are. Now, indeed, if the Silurian hypothesis is correct and there's a reptilian race out there, I mean, shit, if the motherfucker would eat you, I don't need an armada by Proxima Centauri of reptilians coming toward me to worry. Anyway.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm with you on that. I think that I don't believe that the aliens could be hostile because, I mean, I think that their sense of morality wouldn't even be like our sense of morality. So it's hard to even put it in that perspective. But the more I learned about this science, like if they care about us, it's not going to be for the ground or for the air, or for the water. It's going to be something probably more esoteric related to consciousness would be my guess.
And
Because
quite possibly they have a prime directive.
yeah,
Something
prime
that
directive
keeps
I
them
think is a
from.
cool I mean, if we're property, yeah, we might just be sheltered, right? We might be on a display case somewhere without even realizing it.
I
And they might
think
have
we
prime
have something that protects us, something extremely powerful that a lot
people
of
who
them
don't
fear.
yeah. People who don't know what prime directive is comes from Star Trek, which basically says it's like a non-interference policy or law. It says you can't mess with any civilization until they get warp drive, which is might be like exactly on the nose. Can you guys imagine if we have warp drive and then the aliens came? Maybe that's what happened with the nukes. I mean, you could argue that we manipulated space time with nukes, and then the aliens showed up, and we're like, "Hey, we're here now. You finally figured out how to manipulate the ether. We need you to stop doing that." Like never again. And if you do it ever again, we're just going to zap this planet out of the sky forever. Pretty scary. Let's take it back down to Earth here, though, for a second.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, no. One more question on aliens. Only one more.
Okay.
And it's kind of related to the UFO hearing a little bit. Do you think that the government is hiding information about aliens? Like maybe that they're in contact with them, or that we've got faster like communications in contact with them, or that we have off-planet people in any context?
Doesn't matter, brother. You're the one that says it's all about the fucking technology. All this other shit can be resolved. We meet them, we shake their hands or whatever the fuck, the fin. Something, we shake something, we salute, I don't know, in part, we exchange thoughts. I'm not sure if we've reached that level. I think maybe we had it way, way in the past, but we've lost it. Who knows how their ways, but it's all about the tech. It's all about the technology.
Yeah.
The technology is everything.
Well, speaking of the technology, what do you think of Space Force moving to Huntsville, Alabama, Rocket City, also to be known as Space Juice City officially?
I have friends that were still in Colorado Springs and so forth. I can imagine that the real estate value is plummeting. And I mean, from a financial point of view, it can be hectic on the ones. But, bro, sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
I mean, Space Force has a tremendous value to the nation. Very important branch of the military. One day, quite possibly because of the nature of space itself being the highest ground, the most important branch of the military.
Do you think they built that branch? Do you think Trump made that branch in 2018, I think, and it was General Joseph F. Dunford was the one he called upon to do it. Do you think they did that?
General Raymond.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm just speaking to there was a speech where he had Joseph Dunford come up and say something related to it. But do you think they made Space Force because of this technology?
You have to remember who the president's uncle is. One of the smartest men, most likely 100% he was a Jason, if the Jasons were created by then.
Wow.
and most likely, definitely part of the highest hierarchy of intellectuals, Dr. John Trump.
Mm-hmm.
Look into, I mean, this is no fucking mental midget. This guy's a cerebral giant. He was asked to look at the Tesla papers for a reason. You don't ask Joe Schmo. Maybe Joe the plumber after he reads a lot of physics papers. But you know, I still think Joe the plumber can win a Nobel Prize, brother.
Wow.
Kudos to Joe. Yeah.
Well, speaking about the technology, do you think that Tic Tac is Lockheed Martin technology?
I don't know, brother, but most likely man-made tech. I think
And
the
yeah,
aliens are far more advanced.
yeah.
I think we would need. Oh, I would need to go. I would need to reschool in another doctorate and so forth to freaking take me another 20 years to maybe understand a page of that tech. Something of oh yeah, I truly think they engineered the super force at various
Yeah,
scales. Anyway,
that's the biggest thing for me is that like I think we've been looking at aliens like little children imagine Santa Claus. Like, you know, we personify aliens, we imagine that they're on our level, but if they have access to this level of technology and they've been around for any significant period of time longer than we have, then they're going to be just beyond what we can comprehend. You know, it's almost like we can't even really put our heads in their minds, you know.
True.
So then the other two questions related to this is that one of the people that I don't like to say the word exposed because I respect him a lot, but revealed is a Lockheed Martin engineer by the name of Charles Chase, and he actually in his own resume bragged that he was the one that convinced the CXOs of Lockheed Martin to build a compact fusion reactor using field reverse configuration, high beta, pretty much the same thing that Edward Teller was talking about in that paper. Is Lockheed Martin the one that has this technology? Do you think other defense contractors have it? I mean, I'm pretty
Let me
sure.
put it
Lockheed
this
Martin.
way. If I was scientific advisor to the president, I would say, sir, nationalize the fuck out of Lockheed Martin.
You know they're talking about that. That got floated the other day.
Really?
That really got floated 100%.
Well, he has some smart people on his entourage.
Yeah, someone said Lockheed Martin is 97% of the
He has
money.
some very smart people.
Wow.
Really got floated.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yep, I heard the narrative get floated, and it blew my mind.
Another thing that I thought I was an original.
I mean, I think it kind of goes to entanglement. People, I think, have the same ideas because we're all connected potentially by this same conscious field, and we're experiencing the same reality here together. So, you know, I don't know. I mean, that's just kind of me going to my esoteric front. But I think people should remember Charles Chase, revolutionary technology leader of the Revolutionary Technologies Division of the Lockheed Martin Skunk Works. If I'm looking for somebody to know about all this technology, that is the guy. His resume, you know, electromagnetics expert, not technically a PhD, which blew my mind. But you know, his whole life at Lockheed Martin, worked with Ben Rich of Lockheed Martin, the guy that says all points in time are connected.
Yeah. Real
and
legend.
Then the other thing that kind of connects us back together, do you know what Astris is? Have you ever heard of that before?
No.
Astris is Lockheed Martin's AI. So
really, how do you spell it? Like asterisk?
Astris, Astris. I'll put it in the chat.
Okay.
Astris.
Okay.
I'm one of the only people that brought this up. Astris, they came out publicly in 2024 and started offering AI solutions to other defense contractors.
Oh, wow.
Using this Astris AI, which presumably they had, you know, behind the scenes or whatever before that.
And this was when?
Just last year, 2024.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And it offers consulting services on like action plans and things to take, which to me is now, this is what made me wonder about your triarchy of sentience. Because I'm wondering, like, how advanced is this thing? If I'm Lockheed Martin and I'm feeding this AI scientific papers and all this stuff, this thing's going to get sentient way faster than the AI being fed off of Reddit, and it's going to start being pretty scary.
Okay. This is where the scaling comes in. Just because you give, say, even enhanced algorithms or enhanced computational power, and you feed it, I don't know, it goes off trillions of tokens, or, in case of an LLM based on GPT technologies or generative pre-trained transformers, even there's something recurrent memory transformers. Look into that, recurrent memory transformers, which could be interesting. But anyway, so even when you do all that, it's the scaling problem. It might not result in sentient machines. You might look into the work of this man, Judea Pearl. You might need something called causal inference to bring about this almost ignition of consciousness into what we call a non-physical, a physical but non-biological body. Even though sometimes wonder what we really are. Anyway, that's for another time. Yeah.
Yeah, I start to ruffle people's feathers when I say that we might be a biological AI, because I don't want to broach on
I
people's
wonder,
religious
my brother.
beliefs.
I wonder what we truly are. I wonder if we truly are a product of some extremely, extremely complex biotechnological genetic engineering, but something we don't even understand at this point in time. If you believe in the Enuma Elish, the Sumerian book of creation, it is the great Sumerian god Enki that at the behest of his son Marduk, and Dr. Farrell knows exactly what I'm alluding to, created the Adamu to act as what? Slave for mining gold. Because their own people were kind of pissed off and started a revolution of sorts. Yeah.
So I know very little. It's like Anunnaki Sumerian stuff, right?
I don't know, brother. Sometimes I think that myth at least has some truth in reality.
Sure.
Look at Heinrich Schliemann, armed only with the Iliad under his arm, finds a possible Troy.
Let me ask this. This is the last question I want to ask you here. Somebody else brought this up because, we talk about the dangers of this technology and the capabilities, which are absolutely incredible. And in your room temperature superconductor paper, you mention all these different possibilities that we can do. It's very dark, honestly, the reality of all this. How do we get a happy ending? What do we have to do?
Complete and total disclosure. You come up to the people. Trust the people. The people are not the people of the 1950s. We have grown up. There have been so many wars, so many fatalities, so many assassinations, so many freaking fucking disgusting acts of inhumanity that we have grown up. We have been forced to grow up. I think we're ready. We're ready for real disclosure. Trust us. Just if you do this dark shit, this trickle woke disclosure, it will not end well.
What do you think? Do you think that like just the lies and the deceit will end up causing our own destruction? Is that what you're concerned about?
People will lose faith in those that govern them. That is the cause of all great rebellions.
I can't agree more on that. That's the thing. And the weird part is I think that's part of the reason why they're hiding it. Like one of the things I learned from COVID is that
you still have time, man. Come clean. Trust us.
The government.
Joe Rogan said it once.
Yeah.
In different words, but he basically said, we're not children. but you
Yeah.
treat us as children. Don't.
That would be exactly how I would describe woke disclosure. They treat us like children. And then the problem is they've trapped themselves because now that they've been lying, treating us like children, now they can't tell the truth because if they did tell the truth, they're going to lose all credibility. And this is the same thing that happened with COVID. If they told the truth about the bullshit that they were pushing on us, then no one would trust the government again. But that's the problem. You should have never lied to begin with. There's no way out of that. So just like Sal said, I'm going to echo it. There's still time to come clean. There's still time to now come clean. If you don't come clean later and this comes out without coming clean, then you're going to lose all.
People forgive when they're comfortable and have food on their table. But God forbid there's a calamity or a social, economic, political event that basically destroys the social norms.
Sal,
Anyway, yes.
thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. I want to give you a minute to shout out anybody or anything you're working on or whatever you want to do. And I also just want to wish you a happy birthday. Thank you for coming on my show on your birthday. I appreciate that.
It's my great honor to be on your show. Thank you for always believing in me and my work. You are one of the few people that truly has always been there for me. You and Dave Rossi, especially you and Dave Rossi, have
We
my
always will be.
greatest friendship. You are my brothers. You are my brothers. And anyone that goes against you, fuck them.
Yeah. Thank you very much, sir. I hope you have a great day and I hope you have a happy birthday.
Thank you very much, sir. Take care. And the best to you, brother. Take care. Thank you. Bye.